Hi everyone, and welcome back to the third day of our online training classes here with Sew Empower Inc. I am Anne-Marie Lily. Thank you for registering. Those of you who signed up for these online classes. Just a side note, if you are accessing these videos without registering, this is a little talk survey. You have to get yourself registered just so that you can receive a certificate at the end of the training. Keep in mind, this is training. It's just being offered online for those who do sign up. So in our first and second classes, we went over measurements of your bust, your waist, and your hip line. So for our third classes today or tonight, we will be measuring your bicep circumference, as well as how to measure your the length of the blouse that you'll be sewing. So I did mention in our second video that we will be offering online advanced classes, and this is for dress pattern making, how to draft a pattern using measurements to construct a dress, and just more advanced lessons in sewing. If you're interested in that, you can sign up as well. Just send us an email or WhatsApp us, or even just leave a message on our Facebook page. We'll get right into it. Taking your measuring tape and the book that you recorded your measurements from our first and second classes, you just start. I am going to use my measuring tape, the CM side again, centimeters, and for demonstration purposes, I am going to just measure my own arm. So what I'm going to do is just run the measuring tape around the largest part of my bicep, as you can see, and it meets at 34 centimeters. So you go ahead and do that as well. Keep in mind, if you're sewing for someone, make sure you're measuring their bicep circumference and not your own. If you're sewing for yourself, go ahead and measure yourself and write that down on the book that you have there. Alright guys, so that was our bicep circumference measurements. Now, how do you measure how long the front bodice of your Mary blouse is going to be? Okay, do you start up here, or do you start down here? So for Mary blouses, just because of the way they're constructed, the neck piece of the Mary blouse is separated from the bodice of the Mary blouse. So you're going to be cutting two bodice pieces, one for your front, one for your back. You're also going to be cutting, depending on what type of Mary blouse you're sewing, we're just going to do the standard bias neckline. You're going to be cutting something separate for your neckline. So really, for Mary blouses, your measurements should not start up here. You're not sewing a shirt or like just one piece in front. Your measurements should start from where the bodice will be sitting or starting from. So usually for Mary blouses, that's where the neckline ends. Okay, so my plan is to do a bias neckline, which is folds of fabric, and then have the bodice pleated into it. So where my measuring tape starts is where my neckline ends. So I'm planning to just have my neckline slightly higher than the top I'm wearing, just here. So I'm going to start my measuring tape right here and measure the length down to where I want it to stop, and that'll be where my hip area ends. So for me, that's 57 cm. You go ahead and do that as well. Start from where your neckline ends and where your bodice blouse will begin, and measure down to where you want your Mary blouse to end. If you're planning to add frills at the edge of your Mary blouse, take that into account as well, just so that you don't make the Mary blouse any longer than you want it to. So if you're adding frills, and depending on how long you want your frills to be, you're going to have to take into account that measurement as well. But for these purposes, we'll do a straight Mary blouse that ends at your bum area and has no frills. We can cover frills in a later class. So for me, I wanted it to end at 57 cm, right? So that's usually how long I like my Mary blouses. You can go longer than that. Some women prefer to have their blouses all the way down to their ankles, and that's fine. You can measure as long as you want or as short as you want. Some women prefer it a bit shorter, maybe to end at their waist, and I mean higher up the hip, and that's fine as well. Okay, so I hope you've gone ahead and recorded that down as well, your bicep and the length of the Mary blouse, and that will lead us into our 4th classes that we will cover this week. Friday we will be releasing the links for our 4th classes. We will send through WhatsApp, those who are connected to us on WhatsApp, or we will be emailing to those who are registered through email. So thank you again everyone for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the videos so far. If you have any questions, like I said, do comment on the videos on our YouTube channel. Send us a DM on Facebook or email us. Thank you again and good night.